All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the meeting of the Buckhannon City Council to order. As we always do before our meeting, we'll start with a moment of silent prayer or meditation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. All righty.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Buckhannon City Council meeting. We are always pleased and enthralled when we have all of our citizens, or a lot of our citizens, with us for our meetings as we go about city business. I apologize that the air conditioner has been out for the last 2 days, so it is a little stuffy in here. You'll see me shed my coat here in a little bit, but just so you know, we do have an air conditioner, it's just being in service. I will start off by taking a look at the sign-in sheet, and I did notice a couple of people that were signed in to speak. I'll call your name, but if you're waiting for something later in the agenda to speak about, we can wait until then, or if you want to speak on something right now. Mr. Osborne, I see that you signed up first, and did you have something you wanted to express? Yes, sir.
For those who don't know me, my name is Robert Osborne. I want to thank the mayor and city council for this opportunity to speak real quick. I just want to say a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to bring my Cub Scout den down to tour the fire department. And I was expecting a normal tour. Here's the trucks, here's the station, have a nice day, goodbye. And I want to tell you that's not the case. Joey Baxter, who happened to be on that night, and I'm sure I'd have got the same service no matter who had been on that night. But not only did we get to tour the station, that he scheduled some training, so we got to see cars being torn apart, and these are 6- and 7-year-olds, so this stuff just fascinated me. We got to use the new simulator where they put out a fire with a fire extinguisher, and they went above and beyond what I expected or what anybody expected. And I just wanted to publicly thank Mitch and his crew. He's done a wonderful job training these men, and thank Mr. Baxa and the rest of the firemen. You know, when we got done with one thing, we had another fireman say, hey, come and look at this. We looked at that, and then they got the equipment out. We got to lift the equipment, try some of that on. So I just wanted to publicly say thanks to the fire department, and these guys just don't sit around when they're not working. They're actually out there training, and they're serving our community. So I just want to publicly say thanks to the fire department for all they do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osborne. This city and this council is very proud of our fire department and the progress that's being made. I'm looking forward to the future and how that continues to move on. Buck Edwards, Mr. Edwards, I see you have parking. Is there something else later that you want to talk about or not?
No.
All right, yes, sir. You have the floor.
My name is Buck Edwards, and first of all, I'd like to say I love Buckhannon. I've lived a lot of places, and I've never lived any place that I enjoy living more than Buckhannon. A lot of that reason that it's a great place to live are the citizens and the government that we have here. I'm going to whine just a little bit. And I hate whiners, but in the last 2 weeks, I've got 2 parking tickets for parking in a loading zone between North Spring and Florida Street. The paint on that section of street is not real clear. And I pulled in there once to run in and get a set of drawings from Bryson, come out with a $25 ticket. So to me, what's loading and what's unloading? You know, I was loading and unloading. Once again this week, I had to run into the Intellis store, and dumb me, I didn't look because I thought the loading zone was up the street where I got the ticket the last time. And lo and behold, there's another one down the street there. So we've got like 2 or 3 different paint schemes right down through there. I'm paying enough in parking tickets there that we can paint that section down there a consistent color if we could, please. So, you know, while that is very irritating to me, I'm probably more concerned about folks that come into town. I'm aware now But folks that aren't, you know, it's almost like a little trap right there. So I'm whining just a little bit, but along with that, I love this place. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else, and I appreciate everything that you folks do.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. And we appreciate the work you do in the community as well. We're really impressed with the Ivanhoe area, what is the Hampton Road Bridge. Fantastic work you and your quite a few partners put together, and that was a fantastic job. I will mention this for just for general purpose. We did have a town hall meeting 2 weeks ago, and we did discuss parking quite much in detail and signage and some of our issues as far as where the loading and unloading zones came up, and we are definitely looking at that. Okay. I apologize for you having your ticket, but we will see that they get painted.
Buck, I can sympathize with you because that very place that you got one for loading and unloading, I got one too. And I was loading and unloading stuff into the art on Main.
Right.
And then I got another one the next week at a $25 thing. So I've spent $50 that week too.
I got $50 in this.
So we can safely say our police department is not targeting anybody particular. Working on them loading zones.
I also have some of the residents from Central Avenue. I had Ed Babby and Bonnie Riffle, and I see Mark Defoe with us, and I see Mrs. Preaser. One of you guys did want to speak. Did you want to speak now, or?
My name's Mark Defoe. I live at 28 Central Avenue. These are good people. You just paved our street, which was reputedly the worst street in town. I want to thank you for that. I've been lived here a long time, and that's the first time I think it's ever been paved or repaved. Anyway, my concern is a parking issue, and I would ask that the city consider making parking only on one side of Central Avenue. That would facilitate the movement of emergency vehicles. Right now, people park on both sides, and you probably can't get a fire truck through there. And I know the snowplows also have some problems negotiating that street. So I would just ask the city to carefully consider the possibility of making the street parking on one side. We can debate which side.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be a lively debate as well. Have you had the opportunity, and I know that Central Avenue, for those folks who don't know, is a very close community. They're all the neighbors have known each other for many years, and they have get-togethers. Have you had the opportunity to speak with the rest of the neighbors as far as a consensus on whether or not they're objectionable to the one side of the street parking yet?
Well, some of them are Republicans and some of them are Democrats. And
And some are independent.
Right or left? Right in the middle? Okay.
I think some other people have some other issues they might want to bring up. Thank you.
Did you have any other issues, Sandra, Mommy?
No. Well, I'm Bonnie Riffle and I live on 24 Central Avenue. And I really appreciate getting the paving done. It looks really nice. I have a question though. My question is, what are the purposes of curbs? Because now we have none. And this is going to be a traumatic experience for the neighbors in the wintertime, because what's going to happen is the water is going to come across the sidewalks. And we usually get the fallout of water from around the corner, and usually I have to make a ditch to keep it flowing. And now there's no way to make a ditch to keep it flowing. I have a couple of pictures. But, and as far as the parking is concerned, one of the ladies on the street said that there's a fire hydrant on the, I don't know which is north, which is south, on the opposite side of my street. And there's a fire hydrant there. And we had a fire a few years ago, and the fire trucks couldn't see because somebody was parked near it. They had to go up around the block to get, and it was burned the house down. And so, and it was not a very good situation to have that covered up. There are less people on that side of the street that don't have off-street parking. I believe there are 2, and I believe there are 3 houses on the other side that don't have any off-street parking. So if that were the case, I guess it would be parking on my side of the street versus the other side of the street would be preferable. I don't
I
know.
think you prefer to park on the side that does not have the fire hydrant.
That's right. The parking should be on the side that doesn't have the fire hydrant would be preferable. I don't know if that's what you want to do.
We can, and now that you folks have brought this up, council can take a look at it. We'll also have our street commissioner, Jerry Arnold, take a look at the possibility of the parking on one side of the street only. Because not only do we have issues with any emergency equipment coming through, but our garbage trucks have a really hard time, and the plow has a really hard time getting through there. It's so tight.
And
So-
the upspan.
So we
Yeah,
can
the
absolutely
it
take a
comes
look.
very often.
Yeah, and I think, and I think the city progressively is gonna go that way with these smaller streets, one side of the street parking only, but each one we have to take individually, and we have to, of course, contact all of the residents on that street to make sure that everybody's in consensus, or mostly in consensus, that that is the route we have to go.
And,
Yeah, about the water coming off the mountain, how much water we
yeah. My really concern is not so much because I have off-street parking, so I'm not as concerned about which side or whatever you do. But I am very concerned about the fact that we have no curbs.
Gotcha.
There are no curbs, and we get the runoff from Smithfield, and it comes down with great force. We get those torrential rains, believe me. It's going to flood the grass. What's going to happen in the wintertime, you're going to have ice all the way across the sidewalks. And then, like at Mrs. Preacher's house next to mine, she has
two drain pipes.
2 drain pipes that come down, and she had this thing, and it's kind of cracked up and messed up at the end. So, I mean, I don't think things are going to drain in. They're going to drain back the other way.
I will definitely have our street commissioner take a look at that as well. I don't know if that was the intention, because we do have a new curbing machine, and so I don't know if that was the intention when he did the paving, that they were gonna come back and put the curb on or in. But I'll have to check with
nice.
him. I haven't had a chance to
Okay,
discuss that with
because,
him.
I mean, I have pictures that demonstrate that there is nothing.
Well, yeah, we can go by and see it. That's,
What was your address?
24 Central.
But it's the whole block.
It's the whole block on both sides.
Gotcha.
And it's also on Smithfield Street too.
Yes.
A lot of Smithfield has no curb.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. But
Well,
we're
my street
lower
has
than
no
they
curb
are. The
either.
water
Yeah.
comes gushing down our street. In the wintertime, it's like a pond in front of my driveway usually. So that means it's going to be a pond on the sidewalk. Got to go somewhere.
Mr. Doss, can you make a note of that so we can contact them tomorrow, please?
And just so you know, there was something in the coffin
Is Ed
okay already, so we haven't
Ed, you want to say
talked
anything?
about all these little things.
I have not seen anyone else signed up to speak unless we get to that point when during some part of the meeting. What I would like to do at this point, the last but not least, as part of city council tradition as well, we always recognize the Wesleyan College students. So I'll ask each one of you guys that are college students to stand up, give us your name, where you're from, and what your major is, please.
I'm Jacob Sullivan. I'm from White Sulphur Springs, and I'm a biology major.
Hi, I'm Hannah Foley. I'm from Southern Maryland, and I am an athletic training major.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Reynolds. I am from Pendleton County, and I'm a biology major.
Hi, I'm Natalie Parkins. I'm from Pinnacle, West Virginia, and I'm a biochemistry major. I'm Casey Gilbert. I'm from New Haven, West Virginia, and I'm a business management major.
I'm Michael Blevins. I'm from Lewisburg, West Virginia, and I'm a political science and philosophy major.
I'm Nina Byers. I'm from Fairmont, West Virginia, and I'm a chemistry major.
My name is Kelsey. I'm from Daughters County, and I'm a political science major.
I'm Brian. I'm from Thurmont, Maryland, and I am a sport business major.
I'm Deion Brown from Denell, New Jersey, and I'm a criminal justice major.
Thank you very much. We're always happy to have our Wesleyan students here to see what the city business is up to. You guys are a part of the city. It may be just for a semester or two, it may be for a couple of years, but we always encourage the students to come and express yourselves. Was there something you guys wanted to present or speak on tonight? Okay, fantastic. Then we'll move on to our agenda then. Under B, we have recognized guests, and that's a proclamation for Christian Heritage Week. There is no guest, but I am going to read it because this is something that all of the previous mayors have done, and this is also endorsed by the Governor Earl Ray Tomlin, started long before that. What I'll do is just read through this real quickly for you, Council. We won't go through the normal ceremonial process. This is a mayoral proclamation in harmony with Christian Heritage Week in West Virginia, November 22nd through the 28th of 2015, as proclaimed by Governor Earl Ray Tomlin. Whereas the week of Thanksgiving marks the 24th consecutive Christian Heritage Week in West Virginia observance, thus continuing a tradition of annual proclamations beginning with Governor Gaston Caperton in 1992 through 1996, and continued by Governor Cecil Underwood from 1997 through 2000, Governor Bob Wise from 2001 through 2004, Governor Joe Manchin from 2005 through 2010, and Governor Earl Ray Tomlin from 2011 through 2015. And whereas 182 mayors from 122 cities, towns, and villages throughout the state of West Virginia have proclaimed Christian Heritage Week since 2001. And whereas local churches are asked to participate in relevant Sunday school lessons, sermons, patriotic song services, youth programs, and prayer meetings. Now, therefore, let it be known that on November 22nd through 28th, 2015, Thanksgiving week is hereby proclaimed as Christian Heritage Week in the city of Buckhannon, West Virginia, signed by my name, November 5th, 2015. We should be very proud of the fact, as I know most of us are, that our community is such a vibrant, faith-based community, and that a lot of our religious organizations get together and provide a lot of services and needs for our city. So we're always proud to be able to proclaim that, and as a Christian myself, of course, I proclaim it every day as I can. So moving on from there then, department and board reports. Mr. Doss, City Administrator, you're up, sir.
Hope everyone's doing well. Do have a few items to report on under my report. And then I'll have an item to talk to you about later on the council meeting, and then we'll be talking about another issue in executive session. What you should have in front of you are our monthly revenue and expense report, our financial for October, ending October 31st. I just want to point out to your attention that the total revenues to date ending in October were $1,487,472.76. Our total expenditures ending in October were $1,425,144.60, which is a positive of $62,328.16 revenues over expenditures. I'm also pleased to report that the city, we're less than halfway through our fiscal year, which of course ends December 31st, and we have already met 50% of our revenue projections. We're not even at the halfway point, and we are actually tracking on pace with our budget and expenditures. So as always, if you want a more comprehensive, detailed report than what you have there, please see me after the council meeting, or just give me a call. Stop by the office. I'll be happy to give you that. Under old business, there's two items I want to update you on. The first is the water financing. We'll just call it Phase 1 project. This is basically the water board has secured financing for Phase 1 of the water facility and distribution improvements. Those of you on the water board are probably familiar. We will close next Friday with Chase Bank on financing. We're financing for this phase $1,011,080 for a term of 7 years. We're getting it at an interest rate of 2.129%. Phase 1, just to remind you all, will actually cover the cost of a fully automated SCADA system. I'm sure Jay can probably elaborate on what the SCADA system. And also radio read meters, which are actually going to cover the entire city-controlled water distribution system. Those meters will allow us to more efficiently and effectively read meters, give us data when there were leaks, if there's any issues. So it's certainly going to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the water department. But just wanted to give you all an update on that. Again, still staying under old business. Street project updates, and the folks from Central already gave you a little bit of an update, but we finished our paving. Just as a reminder, we paved Barber Street, Central, and First Street. The paving projects are complete. North Spring Street parking lot is about 80% complete. Just behind the Chinese restaurant over here by the railroad tracks. We still need First Energy. They're going to set a pole and provide electric power. We still need to install the parking meter kiosk. We need to place light heads on the decorated street poles and sow grass, and that project will be complete. Some of you have asked questions about the trees that we planted there. There are about 30 cherry trees we got from Maryland. So those are going to bloom out really nice in the spring, pink, red, and white. So it'll be a nice addition down there for those folks that are into beautification and aesthetics. Under new business, I do want to report to you, I'm finishing up the 5-year financial plan. Wanted to update you on that. I've always been told to measure twice, cut once, so I've only measured one time. So I'm re-evaluating our projected revenue and expenditures. It's a little bit, again, behind schedule, but I hope to make the official presentation to you all at the November 19th meeting. I'll do maybe a nice little PowerPoint for you. So more to come on that. And again, I'll be talking to you about our budget resolution later on, and of course, in executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Any questions or comments from Mr. Doss? All right, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate all your work. Chief Casey for the Buckhannon Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody. Once again, Mayor, my condolences to you in regards to loss of your fathers.
Thank you, sir.
Just to update you quickly, we recently had all of our trucks that have pumps tested. They have to have an annual flow test on them. They all passed easily, so there were no issues with that. We were really busy in October with fire prevention, and I'm sure you saw the paper. We installed smoke detectors. We installed over 60 smoke detectors throughout the city of Buckhannon, so at least we have 60 more safeguards in place. The guy did a tremendous job on that. The public was really appreciative, and it was a very good thing. We came in contact, we spent several days doing fire prevention, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but you think about, relatively small town Buckhannon. We came in contact with between 1,200 and 1,300 young children doing fire prevention. Let's start with one-on-one. We did a reading program with them, and it worked really well. We changed things around a little bit this year. We set up a schedule, and actually we were a lot more efficient with it this year. So, but to come in contact with between 12 and 1,300 kids, it was over 1,200. I won't have those exact numbers, but to do that's kind of phenomenal. Small town Buckhannon, I think it says a lot for going out and talking to the kids. So. What today, just wanted to send out my thoughts to the Bonnet family. Gary Bonnet passed away. The fire service lost a dear friend. So that's all I have. If you don't have any questions.
Thank you very much, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Any questions or comments for the Chief, Council?
I got a comment. Thanks, Mitch. I guess when the folks from Central Avenue made the comments about the parking, I'm concerned in regard to especially emergency vehicles that may not be able to be able to get up and down streets. We do have a lot of narrow streets in Buckhannon, and especially with the size of SUVs now, I guess what I'd be asking Mitch is that I think it would be timely for you to give the council a report at some point in time identifying what streets that you think are a real issue for the city. And we ought to put a timeline on it. We've been talking about parking for a long time. I know we talked about in the last town hall meeting, but I'm very concerned, as most of it should be, if you have a tough time getting fire trucks through there or other vehicles. So that's my comment.
Get a list of the
congested streets.
The streets that the department.
We have a few streets that are historically problematic. Park is one of them, especially, they have services, throughout the week and evening, and sometimes, the partners park on both sides of the street. Park Street has always been a problematic area. And, there are a few, there aren't.
And I might suggest then, if you can get a list, and let's get it to Mary on the planning commission. Maybe that's something that they can take a look at as we're looking at the signage as well.
Have it done by December 23rd. Have it done by December 23rd.
If it ain't, I'll pass it on. How's that?
Any other questions or comments for Chief Tracy? Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for all your work you did the last 2 weeks with the fire prevention. Great stuff. Mr. Holland, city engineer. In your packet says book is involved.
What was that, sir?
I say in your packet you included the book.
Yeah, it's 3 pages. I'm having to make the font a little larger because the eyesight's not quite what it once was. So it went from 2 pages to 3.
Times bestseller, so.
Yeah, I'm sure. On the second through 5th pages of your package, you have my detailed list of all the activities that I've been working on in the past month, and the water department has been really busy. So we'll just start with the generator project. We had the bid opening, as you can see, last October 8th. We had 2 contractors for each contract. One was the Tennerton booster station, one was the raw water intake, and those contracts have been awarded. The bid prices are there for your information if you need those. But the Tennerton booster station contract, they've already started it. They actually started it yesterday. They're pouring the concrete drive approach and the generator pad either tomorrow or Monday. The generator should be in December. This project was anticipated because of the lead time to not be complete until March of April, but they're thinking they'll have it done before Christmas, which would be great. Contract 2, which is the quick connect, they're ordering the materials, so it should be finished within a month. The water treatment plant improvement project, we held our pre-bid last Wednesday. I was very excited that we received 6 general contractors and 1 electrical contractor. That means we should get a lot of good bids, and we're going to be opening bids next Thursday at the regularly scheduled water board meeting. And we anticipate, because of the long lead time on that equipment for the settlement basin, to start construction activity sometime in March of 16. I won't report on the next one other than to say that the dates are sliding back now again. I don't know, this McDonald Lane widening project, what started as January through April has now been moved back to June for advertising, awarding the contract late July, and then starting construction activities in late August. I sent off a brief email to the project manager today expressing my concerns about those times because, you know, with school being out, why don't we take advantage of those downtimes between late May, early June through August, but they said that's the target. I'm sorry. And I'm finished. That's all I have. No, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, there's been some movement on it. Almost with the squeaking wheels, and he's going to stop right there and then restart. On October 2nd of this year, FERC assigned a notice of application to Atlantic Coast Pipeline Project to issue them a certificate of public convenience and necessity. And because of that notice of application, they assigned a new docket number. The reason I bring this up because I submitted a docket number letter of comments and concerns in April 23rd, but it was assigned an old docket number. Each time a new docket number is assigned, you must resubmit the information that you previously submitted. Government working at its best, and so, you know, I've been working on that for the past couple days, resubmitting all that information to FERC in regards to our concerns on the river crossing, but that has been submitted as of this morning, and we'll just wait and see. Second page, source water protection program. We've met. We had our preliminary review of both the contingency plan and the feasibility study sections of the source water protection plan yesterday. There's just a few minor comments and changes that they're going to make, and they hope to present that information to the water board at their regularly scheduled December 10th meeting. Michael briefly mentioned funding has become available for the SCADA system. We received 3 bids on that project, and the lowest bidder was a CI Thornburg with a bid of $139,350. That notice to proceed will be issued on November 16th, which is the Monday after the financing is secured that Michael mentioned earlier. And
they'll begin work on the SCADA system for the water treatment plant and the distribution system. Now I'm back on the flood control project. We had our inspection with the Army Corps of Engineers in the late September. Things went well, even though our rating was still minimally acceptable. He explained the reason why, and I won't get into detail with that, but what we're doing and what we're proposing is the right approach, which is the removal of those dead trees and vegetation. And I'm actually submitted 2 of the permits to the regulatory agents today and this evening, and I hope to work on the last Public Lands Corporation permit Monday when I get back in the office. But that's the project that I'm concentrating all my efforts on now, and I hope to have that ready for bidding and advertising in early spring of next year so that we can get that activity. Last but not least, the public safety complex. There's an ad in your all's packet. It was a little further beyond my little 3-page thing, but the project has been advertised, and the pre-bid for the interior renovations to the meeting room and a couple other rooms. Next Monday at 10 a.m. we'll be opening bids November 23rd, issuing the notice to proceed in early December, and wrapping up the project by early April 2016. That's all I have. Unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions or comments for Jay as our training body? Well, for council's information, I have placed Jay and Tom Landis as interveners on the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. What that means is that they are participants in any discussions that go on, and they are our representatives, hopefully, in any discussions, and they will be our representatives within that body to make sure that our issues are being protected as best they can. I'm hoping the county will also put one that before Mr. Mayor. Any other questions or comments for Jay? Thank you very much, Mr. Holland. You've been working hard. All right, I have Scott McClure of Go City LLC, our city attorney. In your packets, I think you've got some of the things we were looking at.
Good evening, Scott McClure here. Got about 4 items to speak to. In no particular order. I guess the one thing we could start with is the home rule proposal for the part-time police officers. We've been working on that for some time now. Right now, still gathering data. As members of the council know, this is a new type of ordinance in the state of West Virginia. It's not really ever been done before, so we are still compiling our information and putting together a draft that hopefully, I don't think I've made any promises on this, but hopefully here within the month or so, we will have a draft for the council to review. And obviously this was part of our home rule plank. Is this the last one to go through, Michael?
Yeah, the real property, sale property.
Okay, so that's that. So, but still working on that, proceeding diligently, and we'll be working with Michael and the mayor to get something put together before council for their review here shortly. The next item on the report is the head-in agreement between the city of Buckhannon and Suddenlink Communications. This is a lease agreement and a deed of easement with Suddenlink for them to locate their equipment on city property. Sent a letter out last week, I believe, to Suddenlink, and a draft of the lease agreement and the deed of easement has kind of already been put together in rough draft format. There's about 3 or 4 items that, as I reviewed the lease agreement, I thought required a little more discussion and review. One is the rate, the other one is the payment of taxes, and there are a couple other things that I put in a letter and shared with Mr. Holland and Mr. Dawson, the mayor. And we'll be hopefully discussing with Suddenlink here shortly about proceeding with that. Hopefully have something before council as soon as possible. One more thing before I get to the draft ordinance 397, which is the amendment to ordinance 300, animal care and control. Next meeting, I'm going to bring before the council an ordinance to adopt the International Property Maintenance Code. Mr. Smith, the compliance officer, Vincent Smith, asked for that a few months ago, and for one reason or another, we got sidetracked on it. It's a pretty simple ordinance. All it says is the city of Buckhannon adopts the International Property Maintenance Code. There's two options when you come to adopting the building codes. You can adopt all 12 or 13 parts. You're probably familiar with this in your meetings. Or you can adopt the International Property Maintenance Code. It does no good to adopt the electric and the plumbing and all the other ones if you don't have enforcement personnel. The State Building Commission is not going to let you adopt those if you don't have on staff or available a chief plumbing inspector, a chief electrical inspector, and those people to enforce it. But we do have Mr. Smith, and we do have the resources to enforce the International Property Maintenance Code. So pretty simple ordinance, not much to it. It's a valuable tool, but we'll bring it forth. We'll adopt it. You all tell me if you need a draft. It's literally says we're going to adopt this code and has a few exceptions, so it's nothing complicated. We can do a draft or we can do a first reading, whatever's required, but it's very simple. You're adopting a code section by reference. I've actually already purchased 2 copies of the property maintenance code in my office. I'll be glad to bring one up here. I think Amby's already purchased it in ROM for Mr. Smith. So we just need to adopt it now. So we've got everything in place to do that, and that'll be something to do shortly. The last thing is, if you all receive my emails, it's quite voluminous. It's basically our Ordinance 397, which is amending Ordinance 300. It's the animal control and care ordinance. Let's see where my notes are here. I sent out a couple emails on it because we did 2 separate phases. I don't want to go through every one of them. It's pretty voluminous and it's hot in here. Let me just say this. There's 4 main areas of amendment. The one thing that we did, and of course the committee put together and made these recommendations. They're very strong recommendations, they're good recommendations, and I think they're appropriate. The one thing we did in the ordinance is make it, we got rid of the breed-specific requirements. I think there's some real good data out there that there is no evidence that one type of dog, it's how you raise your dog, it's how you take care of it. So we eliminated the breed-specific language in the ordinance, the references to Staffordshire Terrier, etc. Another thing we did that wasn't included in the initial ordinance is a no tethering prohibition. You can actually tie your dog out for a limited period of times with certain requirements. You must have a swivel, you must have a harness. There's other things that you do for the protection and the safety of the dog. There's obviously other requirements in there that are basic humane treatment of our animals related to water, food, etc., and temperatures that you would have your dog out. So a fairly comprehensive paragraph on the tethering responsibility and the cruelty to animals. Another thing we did, which is consistent with state law, we took out any reference to the authority to destroy a dog from the municipal court. Of course, a case came from Princeton, West Virginia, I think last year or the year before, where they argued, Bluefield, West Virginia, excuse me, where they argued that both municipal court and state court had authority to issue the euthanization of dogs. The Supreme Court said no, only the state courts, either circuit or magistrate. So we've eliminated any reference to a municipal court's ability to put down a dog that is considered a dangerous dog. One more thing else we did was in the first part, we changed the provisions and took out the administrative declarations that a dog is dangerous. It had a lot of work for the mayor and a lot of work for this commission, the Animal Control Commission, and we put that exclusively, and this makes pretty good sense, in the hands of the municipal court. The municipal court judge is your independent arbiter. He is going to be objective, so there's no hands-on by the executive branch of the Buckhannon government. It'll be up to the judge to make these declarations on what happens to any dangerous dogs, or if they're to be declared dangerous. I think that's about it. There were a lot of changes to that ordinance. There was a lot of work. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer, provide any copies. I'm always available by phone if you want to discuss it in greater detail. Got a lot of help from Maria and her committee, and thank you, and you excuse me. So a lot of work went into this. I think it's a pretty good document. I think the changes all make sense, really. I don't think we needed this executive wrestling with this issue. Put it before municipal court and let the judge decide it. I really like this tethering language. It's pretty universal, and it's just what we all would think would be humane treatment of our animals. I don't think it places any onerous burdens on people, in my opinion. Obviously, some people would disagree, but those are the items we have. There's no update really. I've been following the litigation in the Lampenon versus City of Buckhannon case. Nothing new really to report on. It is simply being litigated, so I think at some juncture may be in a position to or posture to discuss resolution of the case. It's just simply not there yet. One more small issue. We've got an email from Walter Drain, and I think Amby's responded back, but hopefully, I didn't read it too thoroughly because I was on the way up here, but I think we're in a position to get a draft copy of our new codified ordinances in the decimal system and the way it's going to be done. So in short order, we'll have that. We'll be able to go through it. Hopefully, we'll have a codified ordinance, which would be a nice thing to have, so anybody can see Buckhannon City ordinances. It's important to do that.
And I think, Council, you'll notice as well that when you read the draft of the ordinance 397, where he's already put the numbers on and giving you an idea of how that would look within the code. So that way, even when you're on the internet, you just go to 300, and then there's 300 decimal 22, 23, 24, which are sub-articles of the article. Anything else?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. Actually, most dog ordinances throughout the country are like 535 or something like that. If you looked at them, they all say the same. I just use 300 because that's what we called it, and then I put the decimals under 300. I would suspect Walter Drain would change that to the corresponding number. But,
we'll have some catching up ordinances to do from the time that we gave them all of our ordinances to codify. Between then and now, we've had far less ordinances, but there are some that will have to be codified into the new program. So, very good, Mr. McClure. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Comments or questions for Scott? Yes, sir.
Yeah, two questions, Scott. The International Property Maintenance Code.
Yes, sir.
How voluminous is that?
Excuse me?
How
thin?
Is it real thin?
Pretty thin.
Is it something we could get sent to us by email, or do we have to subscribe to it?
I went on Amazon and ordered 2 copies and paid $40 or $80, and 2 days later I got them. I'll be glad to bring a copy up here and mail it. Everybody should have one. It's not that expensive. Yeah. I don't know what the requirements are on the CD-ROM. How much can we share that? What's the license say on it? Is there any restrictions?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably about a 60 or 80 page guide. I'll be glad. I got them to bring one up here, so I'll certainly do that.
Property maintenance and it's one of my pet peeves, and it's something I'm really griped about for a long time. So I would like, if it's possible, to get a copy of that.
I'll be glad to bring
along the line. And the other question is, thanks for everything you're doing about the dog
yes,
ordinance. You should start considering a cat ordinance. I'm not being funny here, but we have a problem with feral cats and with people's cats running loose in the city. Some of them get upset if we pick up a cat and try to take it someplace because that's my cat. You can't do that. Well, we have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And other cities in West Virginia have adopted a code to require a cat license the same as a dog license.
This ordinance in this section, previous to our amendment, already made it optional to register and license cats.
Okay.
I don't need to tell anybody the importance of spaying and neutering your pets. I mean, cats reproduce like cockroaches.
Yeah, and to the people out there, I think you may wake up some morning and find out that we have enacted a cat ordinance going along with the dog ordinance. Because it's a problem.
Yeah, we need enforcement though, and we gotta look at that part-time officer that could be our animal/parking officer as well. Just 1 second, Robin. I want to add on to that. I also want to ask council, since you brought up the international property book, do you guys want a draft of the ordinance first? In this case, you're just adopting something that's already written out, but we've been trying to do drafts first before we even go to first reading. Or would you prefer a first reading?
I like the draft.
You want to do a draft?
Yeah.
So it'll be a draft at the next meeting then.
I'd be glad to. Mayor, I just passed around. I think I got that from Charlestown, West Virginia, and it really is almost just that simple. We hereby adopt the 2012 property maintenance codes. Very simple. So, but that's fine. However, we're not in a big rush. Mr. Smith is chomping at the bit to enforce that, so I want to give him all the tools available to do his
Is that a
job.
2 reading or a 1 reading?
It's going to be an ordinance, so it's going to be lost in 2 readings. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, is there anywhere that has the committee that worked, names of the committee that worked on this?
Animal care and control. Actually, you've got 3 of them here. You've got Maria Bray, Robin Keogh, and Listen, I always do that one.
You have
Listen, League of Mills.
They look nothing like
We met on Monday and went through this as well. They've been working with Scott for quite a few months now, drafting, undrafting, redrafting, looking at drafting this ordinance. Keeping in mind it's from 2001 when it was originally done. This is the first revision of that since then. That's why it is a draft in your pockets this time. Please take a look at it. It is extensive, but it's all common sense. Not a whole lot changed from it. But I would like to have the first reading at our next council meeting. And we'll have a draft. Yes, Ms. Robin, what do you got?
Sir, I asked Heather Perkins-Siebert, who's the Humane Society of the United States representative for West Virginia, to look over the ordinance. Because I've looked over it so many times, and after I'm so familiar with that, I really missed something on there. It's on the section anti-tethering and the fees, the fines that will be addressed. We said to refer to the Kanawha County Charleston fees, and I think that would be set by our county. I think that was just a miss.
There was one, I think we corrected that. There's another one. It was on page 17. I changed it to Lewis Upshur.
Okay.
Yeah, that was changed. As they pointed that out. I think we lifted parts of that no tethering from Dunbar, I want to say.
Okay.
Parts of that. So I think that was correct.
Okay, thank you.
I thought you were going to give us an A+ on there.
No, it was an A+ though.
Thank you.
And I wanted to introduce the ladies from FOHO when they have a chance to speak. From the Federation of Humane Organizations in West Virginia. 2 ladies from here. One of them is from Elkins.
We're both from Elkins.
Both from Elkins, and they have the anti-tethering ordinance in Elkins. They've had it for a number of years, and I thought maybe it would be good if they would tell us how it's worked in their city.
Okay, we're going to do that on the agenda. We're welcome, ladies, as always.
Thank you.
Alyssa, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, as most of you know, or some of you may not know, my husband's in Afghanistan right now with the U.S. Army. They, on the post over there, they actually have, it's a TNR program, which is, for anybody that's not familiar with it, TNR means trap, neuter, release. And stray cats, although most people see them in a negative connotation, stray cats can actually have a rather important purpose. They keep down your rodents and your vermin. If they are in a controlled environment like trap, neuter, release, they trap them, they neuter them, but then they also go back once every so many months and retrap them so that they are kept up on their vaccinations. I would hope that before we automatically go rounding up cats again, maybe we should consider the benefit of a TNR, even if it means that some of us, and I know I would volunteer, and I'm sure a couple others would as well, even if we have to do some fundraising to pay for the neutering. And that way, if there are cats, they are not multiplying, because you're right, 2 cats left unaltered. I've got the statistics in my phone, and it's absolutely unbelievable what over a 5-year time period they can reproduce. But instead of automatically, just getting rid of all of them, I think that there could be a benefit to having, if they do the TNR. The easiest way to tell that a cat's been trapped, neutered, released, and this I think is almost like a nationwide thing, is while it's knocked out and it's being altered, they take the tip off one ear. So if you see a cat that's got the tip off of one ear, just a little tip, a little notch, then that tells you that cat's been vetted, it's been altered, and it's not going to reproduce. And I think it could be, when Terry gets back, he would be better to talk about this, since he's actually seen it in action, but it seems to be a great program.
It really is. I've seen it in other areas throughout the nation. The question in this case would be the enforcement of it and overwhelming one animal control officer of the county at this point. That's all we have, that one gentleman. And unfortunately, I believe he may be going to the sheriff's department as a deputy. Yeah, so they're gonna have to go with a whole nother animal control officer through
Well,
the
we
county.
need, of course, it would be something that we need to be looked at, but maybe, I mean, I'd be willing to help volunteer. I've not met a dog or a cat yet. I've met some that were pretty wild, but knock on wood, I've not
Well,
suffered
we got
any
a
serious.
commission. We got a commission. You know the ladies on it. You can meet anytime you want, do a working session, come up with the ideas, and give the council.
Okay.
Not unlike what you did with this draft. Now, I will let council know that, yeah, the Animal Parent Control Commission did meet on Monday and approved for recommendation this first draft. It'll be a first reading at the next council. All right, any other questions or comments for Scott?
I got a comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm concerned that we don't focus on cats as much as we do on dogs. And I love dogs and cats both. I mean, I love animals. And is there a leash ordinance in regard to cats or not?
Yes. We have a leash law, a leash ordinance. It's in the ordinance.
So the issue is, again, common sense. We don't have people within the city that use common sense in regarding their pets. And, you know, I think the cat issue is as much as a concern to me as the dog issue. That people we have a lot of new people coming in all the time. They're not aware we have an ordinance for having your cats in the house. And I wouldn't think a cat ordinance would be very lengthy. You know, either have it on a leash or keep it in your house.
Well, if I may, the ordinance is pretty broad. I mean, a lot of it's dogs, but it's basically animals in general for the most part. There is reference to cats. I'll be glad to take a look and see what's out there and see what we can adapt to our place here, because obviously it is a problem and it's something we need to take a look at. But I'll be glad to take a look and see what's out there and see what we can bring back and maybe mold and fit our purposes here.
Well, the issue was, keeping in mind that this ordinance was originally drafted in 2001 because of cats and feral cats. So that was the basis, the foundation of that ordinance, and then we're looking at it because of some of the dog issues, and those are a little bit easier for us to maintain.
But now I've talked to a lot of people, they're not even aware that you should keep a cat either on a leash or in your house.
I have a cat, and I'm afraid I don't let it out on a leash.
But you let it out of the house?
It finds its way out of my house.
Yeah.
And the cats are very smart and very sneaky.
But
I can try as much
the
as they
issue is then you have cats running in the neighborhood.
All right, council, that's it for Scott's, Mr. McClure's report. Thank you very much, Mr. McClure, for your hard work.
Thank you, Mayor.
And thank Jason for being here at the last council meeting.
I'll do.
It was good for him to be here.
He seemed to enjoy himself and you weren't too hard on him, so
No.
he can come back.
We didn't hurt him.
Good.
Come back. All right, within your packets, folks, we're under correspondence. You have a letter from Jerry Arnold regarding the street department employee compensation increase. We discussed that at the in our last executive session, I believe. We have a letter from Fire Chief Mitch Tennessee regarding his retirement, as we are all saddened to see that. Notification of the Fire Chief employment advertisements in your packets, and notification of the Public Safety Complex contract number 1 advertisement for bids. Those are all FYI. Nothing needs to be passed on that. Now, we're down into our consent agenda. In your package, you'll notice your approval of the minutes for the October 15th regular council meeting and October 21st town hall meeting. Approval of the minutes for the October 29th special joint session of City Council and Upshur County Commission. Approval of the building and wiring permits. Approval of the payment of the bills. Approval of the fire chief retirement, and approval of proposed street department employee compensation increase. Does anybody wish to have any one of E1 through E6 pulled out for discussion? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. So moved. I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have strategic issues for discussion and vote. We have resolution 2015-19, the general fund budget revision. Mr. Doss, I believe that's you, sir.
Council, as you're familiar, throughout the fiscal year, from time to time, there are budget revisions placed in front of you for various projects and things that go on during the course of the year. Some anticipated, some anticipated. Within this resolution, there's nothing really major to report. There's a few increases, they're all expenditure changes within the general fund, within department to department. So there's really no pure budget increase, just really a shift in some of the line items between departments. I will note that we are increasing professional legal. That's actually to cover the portion of Mr. McClure's pay in his services. He's paid not only out of general fund, but the three other utilities as well for the work that he performs for those. Data processing, we're going to have some technology and IT improvements and upgrades, so that's increased quite a bit. And then finally, the other major increase in a line is the capital outlay for Stockard, and that's to cover some of the expenses dealing with the flooring and asbestos removal work that's actually been performed already at Stockard. The data processing, I do want to get back to that. A portion of that is to cover the zoning and mapping. Landmark title is actually in the process of finishing up some of our mapping and in town with our GIS, so this will cover a portion of that cost as well. Again, the budget doesn't change with expenditures. Overall, general fund expenditures are still $4,132,886. Most of these changes were withdrawn out of our capital council outlay line item, which is typically a line item that we increase or inflate a little bit to cover some of these early expenditure changes. So unless there's any questions, I'd ask council and recommend council approve resolution 2015-19 and ask for a roll call. Roll call vote.
Yes, I know, I got it.
I would make the motion that we approve the,
I have a motion to approve resolution 2015-19. I have a second. Any discussion on that?
call for question.
All in favor? Oh, I know, it's a roll call vote. Amber, would you like to call the roll, please?
Council Alban?
Yes.
Council Perry?
Yes.
Council Simons?
Yes.
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Council Pugh?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okey-doke. One last thing, we're going to be going to comments and announcements, but Mrs. Keough, now would be an appropriate time for you to introduce your guests who we're glad to have with us, if you'd like.
Okay, I would like to introduce Mary Ann and Teresa from FOHO, West Virginia, which is the Federation of Humane Organizations in West Virginia. They do a lot of educating the public about animal welfare issues and spay and neuter in the state of West Virginia.
Okay, should we just talk from here?
Well, you can
No,
start.
no, wherever you go. Okay, we'll start.
The one in brown is Mary Ann, and the one in pink is
Teresa.
Hi,
I'm Teresa, and I'm with the Federation of Humane Organizations. I'm really pleased to be here because it's exciting to hear this enlightened view about animals and humane treatment. I would like to say that our major campaign this year fits so much into what you were talking about with the cats and the TNR, because FOHO we take on many campaigns. We're 20 years old, and I'm not 20 years old, but we're 20 years old. And in West Virginia, and we're real proud of the effort that we've made over the years. One of the things that we've just pushed for so long has been spaying and neutering, and having those services for everyone in the state that needs those, because spaying and neutering your pet is very expensive. So we're not just talking about shelter pets, we're talking about cats that are feral cats, any community cats, owned cats. So we are proposing a campaign this year in which we can make $900,000 to be divided among the counties of West Virginia for spay-neuter services. And we'll be providing more information on this to Robin and to the other folks, Maria, and the folks within your county, so they can educate, everyone, county commissions, because right now, we just did a survey, we just completed it. We just did it on 27 counties. I'm sorry, I just taught middle school all day today and I can't speak very well. But we did a survey of 27 counties, and almost nearly $10 million a year is spent in taxpayer dollars on animal control issues of gathering, pounding, disposition of these animals around the state. And we can do a better job of this. We know we can do it because there's one key thing you said, it was spaying and neutering. So, but it's costly. So if we can get the money, and we can get this money easily and quickly with just a pet food surcharge that's already being paid at the State Department of, at the West Virginia State Department of Agriculture, and it's great because it's already there, and we just have to increase it by $100. And 2 other states have already done it, and we already have our state fund set up at the West Virginia Department of Agriculture. And if we do that, who would think that we had 9,000 brands of, thank you, who would think that we had 9,000 brands of dog food and cat food coming into the state? And if we just increased each of those brands by $100, not to the people, but to the pet food industry, which made $165 million West Virginia last year. That's that's such a small amount of money to give back, and we could have $900,000. So we really feel like we have a good shot at this year. And if you want to go to the West Virginia Department of Agriculture and you go in, you'll see us as a partner with our state spay-neuter fund. And FOHO just put the first $500 into the fund. We can take money from anyone and put into the fund. And so you can donate to it now. But we are hoping to get that nice windfall of money like Maryland did by using this pet food fee surcharge that already exists. And by just taking a little portion of it, let's start spaying and neutering the animals in West Virginia. And even if that money did get passed on to the consumer, it would be the pet food. It would be the people who buy dog food and cat food. And we found out when we did our study, it's less than 75 cents per pet per year. Now, what pet owner wouldn't pay? I've got 2 animals right now. I did have 5, and I have 2. How many people would not pay $150 or an extra $1.50 to do that? So anyway, that was one thing I wanted to just mention to you, that if you do go down the road of doing something with ferals, spay-neuter money would really be helpful. The other thing, we've worked around the state with anti-tethering laws. I am so pleased to come here and see that you're doing this. When we did this in the city of Elkins, we were so proud of our city council and our people that came out, and all of the local officials that came out for this. And Mary Ann's got a story to tell because she's with the Randolph County Humane Society and watched this tethered shepherd winter and summer and just all the time, 24/7 out on a chain. It was just the saddest thing. And that shepherd's no longer tethered. So we've had it since 2008, and it's worked. And people want to move into communities that are enlightened about animal welfare. I mean, that's just the way. And I'm proud to say West Virginia is moving very, very quickly in that direction. We're very proud of what we've done. We have a West Virginia Animal Law book. FOHO puts this together. We have our 2016 one coming out. We've taken all of the animal code in the state and moved it into this handy little booklet that we give out to animal control officers and humane officers around the state, and it's really been helpful to them. We're the only ones that are doing this. You can go online at FOHOWestVirginia.com, and the 82 pages are there for you to peruse. Mary Ann, please come up. Get my face and tell them about the tethering.
We're each other's alter ego.
Really?
It's nice to be in Buckhannon and get to see good friends like Mary. My husband and I attended church here for many years, and we love to come over to the 88 restaurant and and admire all your flowers, and it's such a nice town. And I can't tell you how happy it makes me to hear that you're considering adopting the anti-tethering ordinance, because when we went into this blindly, I couldn't help the shepherd in my neighborhood by hook or by crook. I even sent my husband to try to buy him, it didn't work. So we said, well, we're just going to have to try to enact an ordinance, and we did, and it took a good while for it to happen. But that was in 2008. I'm pleased to say that it's made a big difference. The preface to this ordinance says that the treatment of animals is a reflection of the values of the community, and I couldn't agree more. Especially if you're an animal lover, like many of us are. I was upset every single day seeing this animal that was old and sick and not cared for, chained out 24/7, and the winters in Elkins are brutal. And the summers can be too. Things have been, it was actually hot walking my 5 dogs today with friends. But this could really make a difference for your community, and because it has for ours. It passed much more easily than I ever thought it would. And Randolph County is a very rural county. Now, this is only in the city of Elkins, but I'm pleased to say that we have no more tethered dogs in my neighborhood. It's a humane issue. I think we all know that dogs service in war, they're service animals, they're search and rescue animals in disasters, they're companion animals, they help with PTSD and so many other things, and they deserve better than being chained out 24/7. And I think your ordinance looks awesome, and I hope that you'll be able to enact it. But it's a health issue, it's a humane issue, it's a safety issue, it's a noise issue, and it's a quality of life issue. And this is a lovely area to visit, and I'm just really pleased that you all are considering it. So keep up the good work. And we do have a cat ordinance in Elkins, so we can send you some of that information too. And we are doing TNR. We've gotten grants, so hopefully we can pass our knowledge along and keep up the good work. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
both ladies for the work that you do.
Yes.
Any other? No. Okay, we'll go to questions or comments. Mary Albaugh first.
Thank you, ladies, for being here this evening. Long ago, when the shelter opened in Elkins, we all went over there to see that, and it was a great experience to do that. Maybe we should have an open house at our shelter here and do that. But anyways, I thank you all for the committee, for all the hard work that you've done, and for putting up with the city attorney. And I think that's wonderful, and I appreciate the time. I know the time and effort that you put into it, and I mean that from the heart. I really appreciate that. The other thing is, there's been a lot of comments tonight about parking and streets and one-ways and all that. In our hometown? No. Our
Home rule.
Town hall meeting, okay. It's hot in here. At the town hall meeting, which was held at the American Legion last couple weeks ago, one of the things that was brought up by Brian Van Nostrum, he had he's been working on parking issues. Dr. Joseph Reed has done some information on parking issues, and they've given that to us, and the Planning Commission is going to be having a working meeting coming up on the 17th here at City Hall. It's just a working meeting. It's to get our feet wet and learned about, we're just starting. So anyways, it's going to be at 7 o'clock here, and it'll be an educational experience too. And enough of that, but we're going to work on those issues. But we've come a long way with this one, haven't we? Yes. It takes time. So using this as an example, it takes time for us to get things changed, okay? My last thing is, I invite every veteran who is able and willing, and I hope the weather's just like it is today, to come out on Wednesday, November the 11th, which is Veterans Day. Join the American Legion and the VFW and the members of the Combined Honor Guard. We might even have some people from the DAVs there, marching in our parade, riding in the parade. Please come out and join us. You don't have to, neither do I. And if you don't have a uniform, you'll need to join the American Legion so I can get you a hat. And you'll be my 3 quota. But anyways, the parade route will begin lining up about 9:30 down at the Gibson Library. Parade's going to start at 10:30. We've got a new route this year. We're going to cut across next to the old, come from there to Kanawha, turn to the left at First Community Bank, go down to the old lounge, hang another left, cross over to Jawbone. And we're going to have a short Veterans Day program there at the Walk of Valor, which is really fitting place to have our West Virginia Buckhannon's Veterans Day program right there with all those banners, because that's where it should be. And then we're having light cookies and drinks at the American Legion building afterward. The community's invited. Lots of kid groups are going to be participating. The band's participating. Wesleyan students, come out and join us and walk in the parade. Get your banner or whatever. Just come join us, or come out and wave the American flag. and very excited about our schools with the programs. They're recognizing the veterans, okay? The Buckhannon Upshur Middle School, the high school, the school out in the country out there, what is the name of it? Union, always. They do such a wonderful job with all of them do, even Rock Cave. So come out and join the veterans. City Hall will be closed, I'm assuming, but usually there's quite a few people from the city that work in the city that come out there and wave at us. So come on out. Sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Albaugh. That's great. Mrs. Simons.
I have two things I'd like to talk about. Recently, the high school students approached a joint meeting of the City Council and the County Commission about a recreational complex. That could take years, and the city cannot do that by ourselves. What we can do, and I'm excited as chairman of the Parks Committee, is build a splash pad. Preferably at the city park or Joburg Park. It can be built in a week. It can be ready by next May, by the time we open for the May season. I would like for City Council, I would like to propose and would like for City Council to take this into consideration and approve it. I've talked to the city administrator. He said the money is there to build this. And I propose that we discuss this and hopefully have a splash pad by next summer for the kids to play in. Okay, and the second thing I want to talk about is the North Buckhannon Park. We are about to make $134,000 worth of improvement to that park. We received a grant. The only problem is no one wants to go to that park because the geese have taken over. Here I am talking about the geese again. And so I researched the geese droppings, and not only are they slippery for the walk, where you walk around, there's a walking trail around the park. It is also, the parasites in those are harmful to the elderly, children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, even higher risk for anyone with weak immune systems, such as people with AIDS, taking chemo, recent organ donors, or those with lupus. Even those with ulcers or irritable bowel syndrome are also at risk because they cannot fight the parasites. The geese are all over the soccer field. The children are fond in the geese droppings, and I think the council needs to talk about that, decide what we're going to do for next year. Even if we're going to do anything but put a fence around a soccer field, that would help. You know, we've got to come up with something. So, and getting back to the splash pad, the splash pad would recycle its own water over and over and over again. So it would be, expense would be low, the maintenance is low, there's almost zero chance of anyone drowning. And it would be taken care of in-house. So those are the two things I propose for this evening.
Thank you, Robin, and those are absolutely great ideas that we need to explore more, and thank you for taking your time and your committee's time to bring that forward to us. Council, I would suggest you please read some of that information so we can move on with that. Mr. Peter, you got anything, sir?
Well, for one thing, those are Canadian geese, so let's just put a tax on Canada for sending them down here to us. And would a fence work for keeping them out? I'm just curious.
I wouldn't think so.
There's got to be a way. I do know that at Canadian Valley at the golf course, they bought a border collie, and it worked really well keeping the geese away. So it's a problem. I quit playing golf once because of that. So
I think if we put a dog park there, maybe that might be a good way to do it.
That would be the way.
That would be excellent too. Yeah, that'd be nice. A dog park.
Echo in here?
Oh my God.
Here we go.
We talked about a dog park.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Yeah, gosh, no, you did rather well getting me interrupted there because I can't think of what I was going to say now. So, what I was going to say, and that brought it right back to me, by the way. Thanks a lot there. No, the Wesleyan students, glad to see you guys here. I hope none of your cars were the ones that got towed away off of Barber Street last week when the paving was going on. But there were 5 college students that has a $65 tow bill for parking where it said no parking while we were paving the streets. And I'd like to also thank council and the street department for the 3 worst areas in town for streets. My street, Barber Street, has not been anything done to it since 41 years ago. Central probably the same, and it's a big improvement. Now we have to talk about keeping everybody from speeding down through there. So anyway, I have nothing else to say, much to everybody's chagrin, so I'll let Dave Thomas take it on.
Thank you, Mr. Pugh. Mrs. Capari.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm working with the Christmas committee this year, and we have been having meetings for the last couple months. I want you to start watching the paper for some of the things that we have planned coming up. One of them would be some new decorations downtown. Also, the Christmas parade's December the 4th, and that is the fire department takes care of that. And I believe if anybody wants to be in that parade, do they need to contact the fire department?
No, ma'am, they just, very informal. We line up in the area as we always have around Goodwill, Wendy's, a lot in that area. We just, our lineup starts at 6, and we just have people there. Very informal if they want to be a participant. There's no registration. They just show up and we'll get them through. The parade starts at 6:30, by the way.
And starting the last Friday of November, the 4 Fridays before Christmas, there will be some stores open up downtown till 8 o'clock at night. So if you want to go and go buy Christmas gifts, that'd be great to go downtown and do that and visit some new places. Also, I want to thank the people that have come out to help with the committee, and our theme this year is Sugar and Spice. If anybody's interested in decorating in that theme, that's what and we're hoping to carry that on for probably 3 years and add every year because it is costly. People don't realize what it costs for decorations. So we're starting out with something simple and elegant this year, and one thing we are having for free to the public, we're having at Stockford Youth Center on December the 5th, we have a chef that is a decorator from the Greenbrier that's coming, and he's going to demonstrate decorating gingerbread houses. And we're having a competition, so if you want to do a gingerbread house, you can bring it over there to be judged, and they will be on display downtown. Starving Artists has agreed to do a Sugar and Spice themed art class. I believe that's December the 10th. Also, we are having a fundraiser at the banquet room at Audrey's Restaurant on December the 18th. And Mick Suter is an entertainer, and he does a 2-hour show, and the tickets will be for dinner and show. And it's a fundraiser, and the money's going to go toward hopefully buying more things next year for downtown. Amanda's on my committees or something that might be missing, Amanda. Well, and we are hoping to have, it's not finalized yet, we're hoping to have a horse and buggy downtown at some point. And the Governor's Inn, Sharp, Rieger is planning on an open house there, and we're doing hoping to have horse and buggy rides, and hot chocolate and cookies, the whole 9 yards. And I'll probably have more to talk about next time. So.
You've got a lot going on, Mrs.
Sure do. I'm proud of you. But listen, did I hear right? Are there going to be maybe people dressed up in period costumes or something?
We're hoping to do that, yes.
Cool.
I thank your committee as well from the city for the work that you're doing. It's great to see the spirit coming back into Christmas in our downtown area. Our fire department's held that torch for quite a few years, and I bet they'd be appreciative of as many people participating and organizing anything going on downtown.
Well, then are the mayor's members of council going to be in the parade?
I don't know about that yet. I haven't been invited. I don't just show up for these things unless I'm invited.
Mr.
Thomas.
One other thing, just remembered that it's still in the progress, still trying to work on this. Bryson Van Ostren is hopefully going to be showing Christmas movies for 3 Fridays. and that will be in his little theater downtown.
Let's go.
Micro Theater and Trader's Alley.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pam. Mr. Thomas, you got any comments, sir?
Just a couple. I'll make this quick. I echo veterans next Wednesday. Thank everybody for their service in the past and currently. And please show up if you can. Echo what Mitch said about Gary Bonner. He was a long-term firefighter down in the southern part of the county. And prayers and thoughts are with the family. I also, Hank Ellis passed away last week. And for Wesleyan students, when I first came here in 1984 at Wesleyan, Hank Ellis was one of the legends at that time even, 31 years ago. And he's a World War II veteran and is a legendary coach. And my prayers and thoughts to his family. And also, for those of you, I've had several phone calls the last couple days about, geez, why didn't you write an editorial to responding to Brian Bergstrom letter editorial last week? I've talked to Brian. I know Brian, known him for years, a great guy, good family and everything. And Brian and I are going to talk further about the editorial we had in the paper. I think there needs to be further discussion about some of the things we discussed at the last town hall meeting. So everybody have a nice weekend, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I'm not going to add anything except to say thank you, students, for being here. Thank you to all of the citizens for being here again in one of our meetings. It's always a blessing to have you here and listening to what's going on in the city. I would entertain a motion then to move into executive session for West Virginia Code X-9A-4 for profit. Got a motion and a second. Thank you, folks. You can go home.